Used to send cold emails that got 0 responses. And then I changed only one thing and suddenly my reply rates skyrocket. And today I'm sharing the exact cold email structure that can change everything for you. So by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what you need to do to make sure that your cold email copy is actually converting. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Jovan and I helped over 300 companies book thousands of sales calls. I use AI and cold email to generate hundreds of sales calls for my own agency, Codeful, and I've built Prospi, which is an all-in-one AI cold email platform. Now, first things first, copywriting is essential for cold email success. Everything else can be perfect, but if your copy sucks, nothing really matters. A well-written cold email grabs attention, builds curiosity and trust, and encourages action. And I'll explain exactly how you can achieve these things with your copywriting style. So let's take a look at the difference between a good and a bad cold email copy. Bad cold email sounds like spam. If you open up your spam folder, you'll see that 90% of the emails there are actually pretty much the same. It only talks about you and your company instead of solving recipient's problem. And finally, it fails to get to the point quickly. You believe that you need to explain every single thing in your cold email, which just makes it longer and nobody really wants to read it. On the other hand, good cold emails focus on the recipient. They address their pain points, goals, and interests. They use concise and engaging language that's easy to understand and read. And finally, they include a relevant offer and a clear call to action. We're going to break all these down in detail. First things first, the subject line. In a crowded inbox, subject lines must stand out without looking spammy. That's the first thing. It needs to be different. The second one is create curiosity or offer immediate value, which is usually why we ask a question or add a question mark in the subject line. And finally, feel conversational and natural. What I see a lot of people do wrong is they confuse cold emails with newsletter, where they essentially write a cold email subject line with 10 words, all capital letters and so on, but that never works. It needs to feel conversational and natural. Let me show you a couple of strategies, subject line strategies that actually work. You can use intentional misspelling or lowercase letters, something like quick idea for your business, but you add one letter or something like that, which makes it look like you've actually manually wrote all the emails. And secondly, incorporate personalized data with AI enrichment. If you open up any of my other videos, you'll see that we essentially advocate for AI enrichment with cold email to make it scalable. And you can use the exact same technique in the subject line itself. For example, we use Prospi's AI enrichment to pull data points like service these companies provide, target audience, recent activity, and so on. And then we use that in the subject line. For example, reach more target audience. And I guarantee this subject line will work 10 times better than quick idea, quick note, or something like that. Now, when it comes to the best practices, you want to keep it short. Under 5 words is the best you can do. Avoid spammy language. Again, this applies both to the subject line and the email body itself, but you should definitely avoid words like free, guaranteed, limited offer, or other like 100% money back guarantee and stuff like that. And finally, personalized. Make it personalized. One other thing, and I can't stress this one enough, is don't overthink it. Subject line is important, but it's not crucial. The entire purpose of the subject line is to make your recipient open up the email and not explain the entire offer or who you are or what you can do for them. So that's why we want to keep it short and direct, but still add some curiosity to the subject line. So examples would be a quick idea for your team, helping company name with pain point, and so on. The next thing, which is even more important than the subject line, is the opening line. And I'll show you exactly why this opening line matters. When your recipients receive a cold email from you or anyone else, they actually see the subject line, the sender, and the first sentence. A couple of years ago, the subject line was the only thing that mattered. All the updates and everything, you can see right here what the notification looks like nowadays. So you can see the sender, the subject line, and the first sentence. So that's exactly why you don't need to overthink the subject line itself, but rather you should focus on this on the opening sentence and make sure that it's highly personalized. This sentence, by the way, also affects the open rate, and the entire purpose of it is to actually hook the reader and make them open up the email and continue reading. Here are some examples of great opening lines. For example, you can say something like, I saw that you recently expanded to a new market. You can say something like, you can use AI enrichment and write something like, I noticed company serves target audience. I have an idea to help you reach even more customers. Or, are you struggling with high ad spend but not seeing the results you expected? This one is called poke the bear question. This is something that we all use very often. For example, you can ask something like, if I could solve this specific pain point for you, would that help you scale? And then company name. Ask poke the bear question. And finally, create curiosity with a tease. For example, I found something on your website that might be costing you leads or something like that. You get the point. The entire purpose of this is to hook the reader, make them open up the email and continue reading. And final tip here would be make the opening line feel natural and relevant. What I see a lot of people do wrong is they use personalization, but they write some random stuff like, hey, I saw you went to that college, congrats, or something like that, which is not directly connected to the rest of the email. It's true, those personalization strategies actually make people open up the email, but when they see the rest of the email, they figure out you just wrote that to get their attention, which is not the goal. The goal is for the entire email to sound cohesive, so when someone sees the first sentence, opens up and continues reading, it actually makes sense as the whole message. Now, let me show you how you can personalize the rest of the message. In this case, I'll use Prospi AI, but you can use any AI personalization tool out there. First of all, we need to understand that personalized emails outperform generic ones by 470%. This is not a random number. We actually tested this on a sample of 500,000 emails sent. If anyone tells you that AI personalization is not important, that you can just send templated cold emails and stuff like that, which are always generic, trust me, those doesn't work. You can still get some results, but it's definitely worth investing in an AI personalization tool so you can get almost 5 times better results. Let me show you how it works inside of our platform, but again, you can use any AI personalization tool that you find. How it works is essentially you select the leads and you ask AI to perform research on your behalf. For example, you can ask AI to find target audience, to find service name. And what this does behind the scenes is AI opens up every lead's website, grabs the entire content and everything, and then finds their service name, target audience, or any other information that you requested. At the moment, we have around 10 different pre-made prompts, but you can also use custom AI research. Let me show you how that works. You can ask AI to perform custom research on every single lead's website. For example, you can select the source column. This is where the AI gets the information from. For example, you can set the source column to be company website. You can use the job title if you want to personalize around that. You can use their LinkedIn description and so on. But most often we use company website. Output column name, this is what information you want to find. And finally, the AI prompt. Now, the trick here is that the AI prompt has to be as specific as possible. So if you just write it like this, find a case study, trust me, it won't work. What you need to do instead is be more specific. Be more specific. So you want to say something like, open up this company's website and find the name of one of their clients. Don't write the description or anything else. Just give me the client name or something like that. So yeah, you can also perform custom AI research. Another use case for custom AI research is if you want to make the personalization specific to your offer. For example, if you're offering AI automation, for example, you can ask AI to open up every single lead's website and find 2 or 3 pain points or manual processes that this person from this company does manually, and then you can pitch that directly in the email. So instead of just saying, hey, I can help you automate manual processes, you can say, hey, I can help you automate, and then list the specific processes or operation that this specific person is dealing with on a daily basis. Now, of course, since AI can sometimes hallucinate, you want to make sure to check the output column and edit or rerun queries if needed. So you definitely need to double check if the output is actually accurate. And especially if you do custom AI research. For pre-made prompts, it's not that big of a deal. Now, that's one thing. Like, while you're building the list, you can ask AI to find other information about these leads. But there's another part of this problem or this process, and that's how to integrate personalized data into your copy. Having that information is not enough. You need to know how to embed that into messaging itself. Weave personalized data naturally into your cold email. It shows the recipient that you've actually done the research. You can compare this to manual cold email. So if you wanted to send a highly personalized email, you would actually open up leads' websites, see what they do, who they serve, some of their case studies, and so on, and then use that information directly inside of your cold email. The only difference is that we do this automatically at scale. Let me show you some examples on how you can integrate your personalized information directly inside your cold email copy. For example, instead of saying, "I see you offer various services," which is too generic and too broad, what you can do is you can say something like, "Since company offers then specific services that AI found on their website, I believe we can streamline your lead generation process to target more target audience. Again, AI found this information." Or you can say something like, "Since you serve target audience, I'd love to show you how you help companies like yours increase engagement by 20%. This is much, much better than just writing this email." Because just by adding these couple of words, you actually show the lead or the recipient that you've done the research and that you know who they are, what they do, and that you meant to specifically reach out to them. Another mistake that a lot of people do is they actually personalize the emails, but they don't know how to make them feel natural. Because AI can find all this information, but again, embedding that into copy is a science and art of its own. So what we want to do is make sure that the entire email flow is actually relevant, conversational, and it makes sense. That's why you can't personalize around personal information like college name or city they're born in or their, Instagram profile or something like that. It needs to be work specific because you're reaching out to them to offer some kind of service which is work related, and that's exactly why personalization needs to be work related as well. Okay, so at this point, we know how to write the subject line, why it's important, how to open up your email or how to personalize the first sentence, how to personalize the entire body of the email. It's time to add some bonuses like social proof. Social proof is not required in cold email, but it definitely increases the chances of receiving a positive reply because social proof builds credibility and trust, which is extremely important with cold email because remember, you're reaching out to people who have no idea who you are. So if you can somehow prove them that you know what you're talking about in a sentence, that's a huge bonus, and it definitely increases the chances of them converting. So what you want to do is include some type of social proof. There's a couple of different things that you can do. You can do client success stories. For example, we helped client name increase their lead volume by 30% in 60 days. Again, this needs to be tangible because it demonstrates value and reliability. So the trick here is that the results that you're mentioning have to be tangible and measurable. So if you just say we helped random company increase their lead volume, unless this company is Apple, it doesn't really matter. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're adding the actual result. So in this case, by 30% in just 60 days. Another one would be relevant industry examples. For example, our solution is trusted by top SaaS companies like, again, company name. So if you don't have like specific results, you can do something like this. And finally, numbers that highlight results. If you can't, for example, sometimes you sign NDAs and you can't really mention client's name or something like that, you can say something like, on average, our clients see a 25% reduction in ad spend within 3 months. Again, you haven't mentioned the client here, but the results are there. And these results are tangible and measurable. 25% reduction in ad spend within 3 months. Why this works? Because data-driven results make your offer feel more concrete and achievable. Now, the final part of cold email is actually call to action. I'm still seeing a lot of people do this wrong, which is crazy because this one is pretty obvious and pretty simple. So, some key points here. Strong CTA needs to be simple and clear. You can't write a call to action with 2 sentences. It doesn't make sense. It should be like people should be able to scan it in less than a second. The second one, it needs to be low pressure. You're reaching out to people who have no idea who you are and you expect them to book a 50-minute call just because you ask them to. Like it doesn't make sense. It needs to be low pressure. It needs to be action oriented. I'll show you in a second what that means. And it needs to be relevant to the email's context. Again, if you started this, wrote the subject line that's relevant to the email, then you wrote the opening line, again, that's relevant to your offer or who they are. You wrote the body, and then you completely disconnect the call to action. It doesn't really make sense. The entire email or the entire sequence needs to be cohesive and feel natural. Another very important point would be stick to one call to action per email. Now, you can ask another question. For example, in the first sentence, you can ask poke the bear question, but that's not really a call to action. Like you're not expecting them to reply to the first sentence. You want to end up your email with one call to action. So instead of saying, hey, can I send you my calendar availability or some case studies? No one will reply to that. The only options that you should give to your recipients is to reply with a yes or a no. If they need to write more than that, more than three letters, they won't. Trust me, they won't. So you can't really ask them questions like, hey, can you tell me more about your pain points or something like that? No one replies to that. And you need to have one call to action that can be replied with a yes or a no. There are different call to actions based on the funnel and based on what you're trying to achieve. 2 main types of call to actions in cold email are soft call to action and hard call to action. Let me explain the difference. Soft call to action is you offering the lead some material, some lead magnets, some more resources that they can use that are essentially your asset to convert them and book a call with them, if booking a call is the final result you want to achieve. Some examples would be, would you like me to share a case study or client success story? Or can I send over a short demo? Of course, before this, you need to explain what this demo is about, like what exactly you're going to show them and so on. But you see the difference. Like you don't ask for a call, you don't ask for a meeting, appointment or anything like that. You just ask, can I give you something? Can I share more information? Can I send you a resource, a document, a checklist or whatever? These types of call to actions are called soft call to actions. Now, hard call to action, on the other hand, is when you ask for a call directly. An example would be, do you have 10 minutes this week for a quick call? Soft call to actions usually have much higher reply rates, but not every single lead that you generate would actually convert to a booked call. On the other hand, with hard call to actions, every single positive reply is booked call. Like you should have 90% book rate if you use hard call to action. But on the other hand, the reply rates are much, much lower. I personally use soft call to actions because we've built a lot of materials, follow-ups, resources, videos that we can share to these people. And we have a lot of follow-ups after the first call email to make sure that they actually convert and book a call with us in the next couple of days. But if you don't have all these appointment setting processes in place and so on, it's completely fine to use the hard call to action as long as you explain what they are getting on that call. So if you just say, hey, let's book a call, no one will do that. But if you say, hey, let's book a 30-minute demo where I'll show you exactly how blah, 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 then and only then it makes sense. But you should always optimize and create an appointment setting process that allows you to actually use soft call to actions in your cold emails. Another thing that you can do is balance both of them. You can use hard call to action in the initial cold email, and then in all follow-ups, which are sent only to people who haven't replied to the first email, only then you actually try to lower the barrier by sending them a soft call to action or pitching a lead magnet or something like that. So, for example, in the first email, you can ask for a call, for a demo call or something like that, strategy call, and then if they haven't replied in 2 days, you send another email where you ask them if they're interested in seeing a case study or a process or a checklist. Some call to action mistakes are being too vague. For example, let me know what you think. They're not going to do that. Like, I promise you, no one is going to do that. You need to make it specific and actionable. Overloading the recipient, again, we want to stick to one specific call to action, and making the ask too big. Like, start with a small ask that feels manageable. That's why I said they should be able to reply to your email with a yes or a no. If they ask them to write a paragraph for you, no one is going to reply to that. We understand all the different pieces, how subject lines work, how call to actions work, how to personalize the body. Like, you understand the entire process, but what matters as well is how you structure the entire email and how readable the email is. Your emails need to be easy to read at a glance, and especially since recipients are likely scanning them quickly, which means if it takes 2 minutes to read your cold email, no one is doing that. They should be able to read your email in a couple of seconds. Another thing is you want to keep sentences and paragraphs short. In a second, I'll show you the tool that you can use to actually achieve this. You also want to make sure to use spacing and create breathing room. What we do is we add line breaks between paragraphs. So instead of writing like this, where it looks like a block, a wall of text, what we do is we write one sentence, then an empty line, line break, and then and only then another sentence. And again, you need to write with flow and transitions. When they read the entire email, when they scan it, it has to be in a natural way and natural order. If something is slightly off, they're deleting your email. Here's a quick tip that you can use, and it's called Hemingway app. That's what we personally use to make cold emails easily readable. So for example, what this tool does is you can write your copy paste your cold email here, and it will automatically let you know if some sentences are very hard to read or too long and so on. So what you can do is you can essentially split the sentences. For example, if we do this, again, line break in between, this is much, much better. So you can use tools like this to make sure that the readability grade is actually low. You want your emails to be easily readable by high school kids. So you don't need to overcomplicate. Don't use any jargon or any complex words or anything like that. It should be as simple as possible. The more people understand your email, the higher the chances of them replying and ultimately converting. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the copywriting part. But the one more thing that I wanted to add is how to write follow-up emails, because again, I see a lot of people make mistakes when it comes to follow-up emails. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're only sending 1 or 2 high-quality follow-ups. A couple of years ago, and if you open up your LinkedIn profile and search for cold email, you'll still see people recommending like 7-step follow-up sequence or something like that. Don't get me wrong, 7-step follow-up sequence works, but only after someone opted in or showed interest or anything like that. In cold email, it doesn't work anymore. Trust me, I've tested every single scenario, every single case. It doesn't make sense to send 7 cold emails in a row. What you want to do is you want to send an initial cold email and then 1 or 2 high-quality follow-ups. It makes more sense to find fresh leads because you have certain cold email volume that you can use to send these emails. It makes more sense to find fresh leads and contact new people every single month and so on, instead of sending 7 emails to the exact same person who haven't replied to the first 6. So 1 or 2 high-quality follow-ups. Now, let me show you what I mean by high-quality follow-ups. If I can guess, I would say that you're sending emails that look like this. Hey, I'm just following up. Hey, just want to make sure that you saw my last email. hey, have you had a chance to review this, and so on. This doesn't work. If they haven't answered your first email, it's not because they forgot to do it, it's because they don't care. So what that means is that the information that you provided them, or call to action and so on, doesn't trigger them enough. It's not that relevant to that specific person. So what we want to do is we want to use the opportunity of reaching out again to the exact same person by presenting a new angle. So we could do something like, I thought of a different way we could help you increase ad performance. This strategy worked well for a client, and then you can explain how you do this. You can offer additional value. For example, if you ask them if they're interested in a demo call in the first, in a demo video in the first email, you can ask them if they want to see a case study in the second email. So you want to provide new information such as case studies, client wins, fresh insights. For example, I wanted to share a case study showing how we helped similar company increase conversion rates by 20%. Again, the structure of the follow-up email should follow the same principles as the initial cold email, but you want to make sure that you're actually providing additional value. And finally, you can address additional pain points, because most likely your target audience doesn't only have one pain point, they have multiple ones. And sometimes what can happen is that you mention one pain point in the first email, and it's not that big of a pain point for them. So what you want to do is want to test another pain point in the follow-up email. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's the entire process, the entire science. And I promise you, if you follow all these steps, you'll definitely see increases in reply rates, positive reply rates, and ultimately calls and revenue. But here's a quick trick how you can spot and fix mistakes in your emails. First of all, you should review the email from recipient's perspective. You can ask yourself the question, does this email speak to the recipient pain points or just describe my service? If the answer is, yeah, this email just describes what I do, then you should definitely change your approach. What you want to do is focus on the recipient's pain points. The second one is to test the email on mobile devices. Again, you want to make sure the first sentence is personalized and short, because most people will read or open or read your emails from their mobile devices. And finally, you can use spell check and tools like Grammarly, Hemingway app to catch spelling errors and simplify the overall language that you're using in your cold emails. Now, the next and maybe the most important part is actually A/B testing your copy. And I promise you can be the best copywriter in the world. You can understand everything about your target audience. But if you don't test your cold email copy, I assure you, you're definitely not going to hit the right spot in the first try. So what you want to do is you want to iterate on the copy, test different things, and only then see if it actually works or what you should improve and so on. Here's how you do it. You want to make sure that you have 500 emails per variation, because that's a reliable sample size. I see a lot of people send 50 emails and then completely give up. You need at least 500 emails per variation. You want to change one element at a time, because if you change the entire copy, you have no idea which specific change actually made the impact. Now, let me show you how all of this information actually works in practice. Let's go through a couple of examples of high converting copies. For example, this is a SaaS email. Subject: an idea to help company reduce churn. Hi, first name. I noticed that company serves target audience. You see there's personalization in the first line and in the subject line as well. Many SaaS companies in this space struggle with churn rates. We recently helped similar company reduce churn by 20% in just 90 days by performing exit interviews. This is the mechanism, how you do it. I've prepared a strategy for a company that will help you do the same. So I've already done the work. Are you open for a quick chat this week to see what work I've already done for you? The next one would be agency cold email offering paid ads management. Company not running ads. Hi, first name. I was reviewing your website and noticed that company isn't running paid ads for and their specific product. Again, a lot of personalization in the first sentence. We've recently helped client increase their ROI by 30% by managing their ads. Can I send the exact step-by-step process on how company can achieve similar results? Again, as you can see, personalization, 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 personalization. Again, for this specific one, you need to make sure that they're actually not running ads. You can use AI personalization engine for that. The second one would be cold email with a video call to action. Video for company. Hi, first name. I recorded a 2-minute video explaining how we've helped companies like similar company grow by 25% with targeted campaigns. This one is not the best because you should actually, if you do something like this, the actual mechanism has to be a bit more specific. Would you like me to send the video over? By the way, video call to actions definitely outperform everything else. Cold email with free value. Creative for company. Hey, first name, wondering if you're doing short form videos for service. Again, personalization in the first one, poke the bear question, like you're asking them something direct, relevant to their offer. As you can see, we're never mentioning their college or location or anything like that. So wondering if you're doing short form videos for product. I can create one for company. This is their company name. Within 7 days at no cost, just to show you the results. Would this be helpful? Trust me, if you're, by the way, you can steal this copy, again, adjust it to your specific offer and so on. But trust me, these types of emails work much better than what you see on LinkedIn or online, where people just say, hey, name, hope this email finds you well. I saw you went to that college, go team. I'm reaching out because that doesn't work. Like a lot of words that have no impact, that are not valuable. So every single word in the email has to make sense and has to be useful and actionable. So to sum it up, here are the key principles that will help you create high converting cold email copy. First one is personalization is essential, but only when it's relevant. Again, personalized emails perform almost 5 times better than the generic or templated one. Your emails have to have clear structure and flow because they make emails easy to read. Use short sentences, line breaks, bullet points, and make sure that your email is mobile friendly. When it comes to the offer, it should definitely be simple. It needs to solve a specific problem for your prospect, and it needs to use measurable outcomes. Remember, every single example had 20% increase, 5% less, and so on. It needs to be measurable. You should also craft strong and single action call to actions. You should avoid multiple ones, stick to one clear actionable ask. And again, depending on what your goals are and what you want to achieve, and whether you have appointment setting process in place, you should test hard and soft call to actions. If you have social proof, case studies, and so on, then you definitely need to use that. Again, you should mention specific outcomes, specific results that you achieved for your clients, or specific numbers or industry insights if you don't have any clients yet. You should A/B test key elements, use a sample size of at least 500 emails per variation, test different subject lines, openers, call to actions, and finally refine based on data. You can't assume that you know what works. Like, you need to actually look at the data and see which copy performs the best, which target audience performs the best, and so on. So everything needs to be data driven. So that's pretty much everything when it comes to cold email copywriting. If you follow all these practices, all these key points and rules that I just outlined in this video, I promise you'll definitely see results with your cold emails. Because I'm not speaking these facts and these points randomly, I've actually launched more than 500 different cold email campaigns in the past. So yeah, just follow these rules, follow these steps, and you'll definitely see your reply rates and booked calls skyrocket. And yeah, if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I'll be posting useful videos like this every single week.